Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing a deep dive on AMD, and I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on whether I think it's a buy, hold, or sell right now. I prepared this little mind map for you guys, so if you guys could take the time to subscribe, that'd be greatly appreciated, and let's get into it. So let's start by zooming into the four main segments of AMD's business, and we'll start off with the gaming segment. So this is the segment that's mostly focused on building GPUs specific for gaming PCs. They also have other gaming-related solutions that emphasize features like ray tracing and AI upscaling. Now, in terms of revenue, it was down 59% year over year due to some reduced semi-custom revenue, and this has been a big headwind on the business. As you can see, the full year revenue totaled about $2.6 billion. That was down almost 60% year over year. So it's been a headwind on AMD's overall revenue, but this is expected to start bouncing back. I think it has bottomed in terms of declining revenues, and I think it's going to start growing again in the second half of this year. So the second part of AMD's business is the embedded business, which is basically very specialized computing systems that are made for things like industrial machines, networking gear, point of sale systems, even automotive systems. And their revenue in that part of the business is down 13% year over year. So it's also been a bit of a headwind on the business. This is also expected to start rebounding, but the embedded and the gaming segment are very, very small pieces of the pie, and not a big part of the AMD growth story. Now, just before I forget, if you're already pretty familiar with AMD and its business and you just want to see my financial outlooks, you can skip ahead in the video and I'll be doing that. So the second biggest part of AMD's business is the client segment. Now, this is where they build processors that go into desktops, notebooks, and this is one of the most exciting parts of the business. There's a huge cycle of new PCs being built, which they call AI PCs. So PCs that are able to run AI systems, and this is reflected in the revenue. It grew 58% year over year, and 52% full year 2024 revenue. There's really strong demand for these products, so this segment is going to be part of the growth story. But it's nothing compared to this data center segment, which is really where AMD's growth is going to come from. And this is their GPU processors built for AI solutions, specifically to AI. So this is the MI300 chip, and they're currently working on the MI350, which is supposed to be coming out in the second half, or in the first half of 2025. So really in the next 3 months. Recently, one of the big moves that AMD made in this data center segment was acquiring ZT Systems. And what this acquisition is going to allow them to do is deliver full stack AI infrastructure solutions. So this is something they weren't able to do, and they weren't able to compete with NVIDIA's full stack solutions until now. And this is something that can really drive further growth in the business. It'll let them scale their EPYC CPUs, their Instinct GPUs, and it's really going to boost their ability to compete. So overall, full year 2024 revenue grew 14% year over year, and this revenue is going to continue to accelerate into the mid-20s to potentially 30% year over year. They guided Q1 at 30% year over year growth, and I expect full year 2025 to be around 25% growth. This is with also gross margins improving thanks to highly profitable products that are being sold. This is the data center GPUs. They're making really awesome profits on those. And their gross margins are kind of being dragged down by the gaming and the embedded segment for the moment, but that should improve, as I said, further on in the year. How are they going to grow this or drive this growth? It's going to be with the rapid adoption of their GPUs by some of those hyperscalers. So they're already trusted by Facebook with the Llama model. Just recently, there was an article that came out talking about how they're powering Google's cloud servers. And apparently Google's really happy with the product. They've had an 80% speed improvement thanks to these AMD EPYC processors. So that's good to hear. Good to get positive reviews from such a large company. So I'm sure they're going to build a strong relationship with Google and some of these other big hyperscalers for years to come. And Lisa Su, the legendary CEO, is really confident that their data center segment is going to evolve into tens of billions in revenue over the coming years. So now that we have a global picture of what AMD does, where their business is at, and what their future outlook is, let's run some numbers and see what we can come up with. So here we are on Excel. I have this model built, pretty simple, but I think it gives a good picture of where the business can go and where the stock price can go in the next few years. So I have a base case, a bear case, and a bull case, of course, with various PE ratios depending on market sentiment at the time and also sentiment towards AMD. So in 2025, I have them doing $32 billion of revenue. This is based on analyst consensus. This is the median analyst consensus that I grabbed from Yahoo Finance, and also net income margins, which I grabbed from Yahoo Finance. So this would give us $6.4 billion of net income in 2025. Then I have them growing at 20% every year until 2030. And those net income margins would only improve to 25%. Now, a lot of people have them going even past 30%, but for the base case, I'm keeping it at 25. This would give us 2030 earnings per share of $12.29. And as you can see, the stock could be anywhere between $250 to almost $500 if we're at a very high PE ratio. So considering the stock is at around $95 right now, this could really be, it could offer really attractive growth rates for the next 5 years. Now looking at the bear case, which I put in orange because it's not an end of the world scenario, but it's if growth is a bit slower. I have them growing at 15% revenue instead of 20%, which is really on the low end of what analysts expect. And net income margins flattening out at 20% and staying there for the next 5 years. This would give us EPS of $7.95 in 2030. And as you can see, even at a 20 PE ratio, we have a pretty decent return of about 60% considering today's stock price. So still pretty good returns considering this is a bear case. And now the bull case. This is if things go really well, tariffs don't hurt the business too much, and geopolitical risks are avoided. Start off that same base, $32 billion in revenue, 20% net income margins. And then I have them growing revenue at 25% until 2030. And those net income margins slowly creeping up towards those low 30% margins. This would give us EPS of $19.29. And as you can see, it gives us some really interesting price targets. This is definitely a hopeful case, but if there's ever a CEO to execute on such growth rates, it would be Lisa Su. So I put this at about a 15 to 20% chance of happening by 2030. But yeah, bear case, bull case, base case, they all give decent returns. And at today's price of $95, I think the stock is a buy. Now let's just head over to the charts and have a final look at where AMD is today. So here's the chart. AMD hitting an all-time high of 227 in early August of last year, and it's just been an ugly downtrend really ever since. Hitting lows recently of $76. Now we bounced really hard off of this area, but as you can see, we're still hitting that downtrend line, and we haven't broken out of it. So until we do, the trend holds, and it's rather bearish. Now for this chart to turn from bearish to bullish, I think we need to break this 116 level. Now why is that? Is because since that high, we haven't been able to make new higher highs since then. We've only been making lower lows. You can see here, lower high again, and since then it's been really brutal. Lower highs, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. Here, right before all the tariff news, we almost broke out of it. But as you can see here, we hit that resistance of 116, and we weren't able to break through, and we sold off hard after that. So for me, that's really the area to look at. I think once we break 116, potentially back test it as resistance, and then start going up, that's when really this chart is going to flip to bullish. However, that doesn't mean that you have to wait until 116 to start accumulating shares. I think $94 is a great price. As you can see, based on the model, the price targets are really attractive in 2030. So anything under $100 is just an awesome buy. Now, just as a final thought, Lisa Su, the current CEO, took over AMD on October 8th of 2014. Now, if we look in 2014, the stock was trading at about $3.50 when she took it over, falling down to almost $1.60 at the bottom. But look what she's been able to do with the company ever since. It's quite remarkable. So if somebody's able to do it, it's going to be her. She has no intention of leaving the company. She's here for the long run, and she wants to keep building this into really an AI giant. So I think looking at the fundamentals of the company, where their financials are at, I think we can have faith in Lisa Su to keep building this business and build it into really a juggernaut of AI. So thank you guys for listening to the video. I personally am buying AMD at these levels. I think it's a great opportunity. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you could like and subscribe, that'd be really appreciated. And I'll see you guys in the next video.